You open the app, you scroll, you match, you talk for a few days, maybe a week, and then nothing. No explanation, no goodbye, just silence where a person used to be. And you tell yourself it's fine, that it doesn't matter, that you barely knew them anyway. But somewhere underneath that reasonable voice, something small and tired says, why does this keep happening? That feeling, that quiet, accumulating exhaustion, has a name. It's called dating burnout. And if you're experiencing it, the first thing worth knowing is this. It is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It may be a sign that you are a feeling person trying to find something real inside a system that was not designed with feeling people in mind. This video is about why that happens. Not to make you cynical, and not to tell you to simply try harder, but to help you understand what's actually going on, psychologically, emotionally, and in terms of the deeper human needs that modern dating so often leaves unmet. Let's begin with the structure of the problem itself. Modern online dating presents us with what might be called an architecture of abundance. At any given moment, there are hundreds, sometimes thousands, of potential matches available. On the surface, this sounds like a gift. More options should mean a better chance of finding the right person. But human psychology doesn't quite work that way. When we are faced with an overwhelming number of choices, something interesting happens in the mind. Rather than feeling liberated, we often feel paralyzed, or worse, perpetually dissatisfied. There is always another profile to swipe. There is always the possibility that someone slightly better is just one scroll away. This is sometimes called choice overload, and it has a quietly corrosive effect on how we engage with the people right in front of us, or rather, right on our screens. The result is that connections are treated as provisional. Conversations are kept light. Emotional investment is rationed. And the person on the other end of that conversation, you, perhaps, can sense it. You can feel when someone is half present, when they're keeping their options open, when they're talking to you and 3 other people simultaneously. It creates a particular kind of loneliness. The loneliness of being seen but not quite chosen, of being interesting but not quite enough. Now add to this the phenomenon of ghosting. Research into online dating experiences consistently finds that a significant proportion of users have been ghosted, simply cut off without explanation after what felt like a genuine connection. And while it's easy to say that ghosting reflects the other person's emotional limitations rather than your worth, the cumulative effect of being ghosted repeatedly is not so easy to dismiss. Over time, it can begin to feel like evidence that you are too much or not enough, or somehow fundamentally difficult to stay with. This is where the psychology becomes particularly important to understand. There is a concept in psychology sometimes described as learned helplessness. The idea that after repeated experiences of trying and failing, a person can begin to believe that their efforts simply don't matter, that no matter what they do, the outcome will be the same. In the context of dating, this can manifest as a kind of emotional withdrawal, not because the person has stopped wanting connection, but because wanting connection has started to feel dangerous. It has started to feel like a guaranteed path to disappointment. This is not weakness, this is the mind trying to protect itself. But it is worth recognizing, because that protective withdrawal, that decision to stop hoping too much, to stop investing too soon, to keep yourself at a careful distance, can become its own kind of trap. You protect yourself from pain, but you also protect yourself from the very openness that genuine connection requires. There is a deeper layer here too, and it has to do with identity. Modern dating culture has developed its own language, its own frameworks, its own way of categorizing people and experiences. Attachment styles, red flags, green flags, situationships, love bombing. These terms can be genuinely useful. They give people words for experiences that previously had none. But they can also, if we're not careful, reduce the extraordinary complexity of human beings into a set of labels. And when we start to see ourselves primarily through those labels, when we become our attachment style, when we become our trauma response, we can lose touch with the fuller, stranger, more irreducible person we actually are. Philosophy has long been interested in the danger of defining oneself too narrowly, of collapsing the vast possibility of a human life into a single fixed identity. That insight, wherever we encounter it, feels particularly relevant here. When dating culture encourages us to present ourselves as a curated profile, a set of preferences, a list of deal breakers and must-haves, something essential gets left out. The messy, unfinished, genuinely interesting parts of a person don't fit neatly into a bio. And the effort of constantly presenting a polished version of yourself, while simultaneously trying to assess whether the polished version of someone else is actually real, is exhausting in a way that is very hard to articulate. It is, in a sense, a performance without an audience that truly sees you. And performing without being seen is one of the loneliest experiences a person can have. So what can you do with all of this? Not as a set of instructions, but as a way of thinking about your own situation with more compassion and more clarity. The first thing is simply to name what's happening. Dating burnout is real. It is not a personal failing. It is a reasonable response to a genuinely difficult environment. Naming it, saying, "I am exhausted, and that exhaustion makes sense," is not giving up. It is being honest with yourself, which is always the beginning of something better. The second thing is to take the pressure of the system off your sense of self-worth. The way online dating is structured, with its emphasis on immediate visual appeal, rapid judgment, and constant availability, is not a reliable measure of your value as a person. A lack of matches, or a string of conversations that go nowhere, or being ghosted by someone you liked, none of these things tell you who you are. They tell you something about the limitations of the medium. Your worth is not determined by an algorithm. The third thing is to consider what you actually need right now. Sometimes the most honest and self-respecting thing a person can do is step back. Not permanently, not in defeat, but as an act of genuine self-care. Just as a person who is physically exhausted needs rest before they can perform well again, a person experiencing dating burnout may need a period of quiet, of investing in friendships, in creative life, in the things that remind them who they are outside of the search for a partner. This is not giving up on love. It is refusing to let the pursuit of love hollow you out. And finally, it may be worth holding on to a distinction that is easy to lose in the noise of modern dating: the difference between the process and the possibility. The process, the apps, the swiping, the small talk, the ghosting, can be genuinely awful. It is reasonable to find it demoralizing. But the possibility, the genuine human connection that you are ultimately looking for, that is not diminished by the difficulty of the process. People do find each other. Real relationships do begin. The fact that the current landscape makes it harder does not mean it is impossible. It means you are navigating something genuinely difficult, and the fact that you are still here, still open enough to be asking these questions, says something quietly remarkable about you. You are not too sensitive. You are not asking for too much. You are a person who wants something real, in a world that sometimes makes real things very hard to find. That is not a flaw. That is, in many ways, the most human thing about you. If this video helped you feel a little less alone in what you're going through, consider subscribing to Inside the Labyrinth. We explore these kinds of questions every week. And if there's a particular aspect of modern dating or relationships you'd like us to look at more closely, leave it in the comments below. And if this spoke to a part of you that rarely gets heard, stay with that feeling for a moment. You are not broken because you feel deeply. You are only beginning to understand yourself. Subscribe to Inside the Labyrinth for more reflections on the hidden patterns of the human mind.